Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit is presented by Bell Tire. As we continue our march toward opening day, it appears the Tigers offense is in midseason form. They belted out 17 hits yesterday in a win against the Atlanta Braves. And the hope is we'll see a whole lot more of that here this afternoon as they take on the Tampa Bay Rays. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to Tigers Baseball. Mario and Pemba alongside Rod Allen. Glad to have you with us for our final spring telecast of 2018. Offense clicking right now, Rod. That is good to see, but maybe more so good to see Miguel Cabrera kicking it into gear.
You know, we talked a lot about the Tigers rebuilding in 2018. We've talked about the new staff Ron Gardenhire has assembled. But the one constant is Miguel Cabrera is still here and driving the ball with a tremendous amount of authority. He has 3 home runs on the spring, and all 3 of the home runs have gone the opposite way. That's the key for Miguel, Mario. That's what he's been able to do his entire career, but his lower half really didn't work like this last year, but it's working for him in spring training, and this is a positive sign for Miguel Cabrera right in the middle of that batting order. If he continues to stay healthy, he's in the best shape of his life. There's no doubt that Miguel Cabrera would get back to some of those numbers he put up prior to last year.
And yes, the big fella back in the lineup again today for the Tigers. 3 days to go until opening day. Glad to have you with us here this afternoon as we take on the Rays. Coming up today, Francisco Liriano will make his final spring starts right here in Lakeland. Tigers Rays coming up on Fox Sports Detroit. game here this afternoon. The Tigers are winding up the home portion of spring camp. Their 82nd season here in Lakeland, Florida, coming to a close in the next couple of days, where the Tigers continue to march toward opening day on Thursday. Here is the starting lineup for the visiting Tampa Bay Rays, presented by your Metro Detroit Chevy dealers. It'll be Robertson, Kiermaier, and Crone at the top of the lineup for Kevin Cash. Brad Miller batting cleanup, Jesus Sucre, followed by Johnny Field, Wendell, and then Smith, and Cronenworth, a local kid, is batting ninth and playing at third base. And they are facing the left-handed offerings of Francisco Liriano, presented by Family Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Well, Francisco is a veteran of 12 seasons in the major leagues. Last year he pitched in Toronto and also the Houston Astros, which won the World Series. He's pitched well down here with the exception of a lot of base on balls. His record is 1-0 with a 1.80 ERA, and he figures to be in the Tigers' starting rotation. Take a look at the defense behind Liriano here today. Basically the same defense as yesterday, with the exception of Jacoby Jones in center field and James McCann behind the plate. This looks a lot like the opening day lineup. Maybe Martin would be in center field and not Jones, but other than that, that's your opening day lineup.
Well, we saw Michael Fulmer throw an outstanding game yesterday in his final tune-up, and this will be Liriano's final tune-up of spring camp here in 2018. And as we talked, Rod, yesterday, you know, we want to see the Tigers kind of leave camp healthy. As you look at the numbers in terms of the weather today, 78 degrees. There is some wind and some clouds in the area, but you got a couple of days to go, man. You want to get to Comerica Park in one piece, and that's the aim right now.
And not only for the Tigers, but also for Kevin Cash, the manager of the Tampa Bay Rays. He also wants to leave healthy with his squad, but that's the main thing. You've already had spring training. Your rosters are pretty much set. At least the Tigers roster is set. Now the main thing is to leave healthy, and for Francisco Liriano, throw more strikes today. Trust your stuff and throw the ball over the plate.
Kevin Cash, the skipper of the Rays, they were 80 and 82 last year. They have made a lot of changes in their ball club this year, and we'll talk about that as the broadcast goes along today. But we are set for baseball as Daniel Robertson steps in. He'll get things started for Tampa Bay.
Let's see if McCann just sets up right down the middle here in the beginning of this game, because the movement on the two-seam fastball for Liriano has moved a lot, and maybe that will help him in throwing that ball right over the plate today.
Here's the first pitch. It's lined to left center field, and a base hit. It's going to get by the left fielder, Matuk. Robertson is on his way to second, and on the very first pitch of today's game, the Rays have a runner at second base.
That's another thing about this Rays team, Mario. A number of years ago, it used to be an organization that used to like to work counts and take a lot of pitches. They don't do that anymore. If you're going to throw them a first pitch fastball, you better locate it, because there are a bunch of guys that like to swing the bats now.
It seemed like they were like every other team in the American League East. They would work the pitchers, the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Rays, but they have switched things up.
They really have.
Here is Kevin Kiermaier. Kiermaier, 276 last year, hit 15 homers and plays outstanding defense.
He is a dynamite player. The only thing with him is you've got to keep him healthy and on the field. Only played in 98 games last year.
You know, he plays with reckless abandon, and there is a downside to that, and you just spoke of the injuries. That will happen.
And the fact that they play on that artificial surface.
Yep, doesn't help. Here's the 1-0 to Kiermaier. And he'll look at a strike as Manny Gonzalez goes up with the right hand.
For the most part, Francisco, two-seam fastball. He's got a slider. He also has a changeup. He used to throw a lot harder. And remember him in Minnesota, Mario, he's about 95, 96 with that wicked slider and an unhittable changeup when he was younger.
Here's the 1-1. The Tommy John surgery that Liriano had certainly was a big part of stunting his development.
Here's that breaking ball. Doesn't throw it as hard as he used to be. Used to throw it. Located that one well. Got a strike call.
Chris Bosio has had an entire spring now to look at his staff and work with some of the arms that he has on the staff, which by and large is still pretty young. I mean, you talk about Fulmer, you talk about Norris, you talk about Boyd. I mean, these are still young guys. But Boz, I think we touched on this earlier yesterday in the broadcast, Rod. He kind of jumped into this with both feet when he got the job.
Yeah, he commands a lot of respect, too. I mean, here's a guy that pitched in the major leagues for a number of years. As a matter of fact, he threw a no-hitter once in the major leagues, and he was also the pitching coach of the world champion Chicago Cubs just a couple of years ago. So there's a lot of respect there regarding Chris Bosio.
Pretty good resume, huh?
Yeah.
No-hitter?
Isn't his no-hitter, isn't that the one where Vizquel caught the ball barehanded? Is that his no-hitter?
I'm not sure. It may have been.
I'm thinking it was. For the final out, I'm thinking.
Count now 2 balls and 2 strikes on Kevin Kiermaier. Swing and a miss. Down he goes. And the first strikeout of the ball game for Liriano.
Well, that's what the Rays did a lot of last year, but every team in baseball did a lot of striking out. So they've gotten rid of a lot of power this year. They've got more contact hitters, but that's just a wicked two-seam fastball right there that ran in on Kiermaier.
Here is C.J. Cron. Cron 16 homers last year with the Angels. He was acquired in a deal with Los Angeles, and we talked about how the Rays have kind of changed the look of their team. A lot of really good veteran players are gone now. Odorizzi and Dickerson and Steven Souza and Longoria.
Cron really has never had a full season. The Rays are interested in seeing what he could really do with all that power that he has. He has 30 home run potential. There's no doubt about that.
Liriano is 0-1 on the ground to the shortstop. And Iglesias bobbles, thought about going to third, but he still has time to get Cron. 2 gone.
Robertson, the base runner on second, got lucky that he tried to get to third base. Had Iglesias fielded that ball cleanly, he would have been able to throw Robertson out at third base. As a rule of thumb, ball hit directly at you at second base, you simply stay there. There's no risk involved if you stay at second base.
So Robertson moves up, 2 gone now, and here is Brad Miller, the designated hitter for the Rays. Only 201 last year, hit 9 homers. And played in just 110 games for the Rays. That'll dart low and away, 1-0. This is the time of spring camp now where guys get a little bit giddy because they've been here since mid-February and they finally see the light at the end of the tunnel.
And the guys that are in the bubble, they're a little bit antsy. I mean, they kind of stay away from the manager's office. They kind of hide in the corner in the clubhouse. You don't want to be seen if you're one of those guys that's on the bubble.
McCann able to block that one and keep the runner at third.
I don't know how McCann was able to block that, but he was able to keep it in front of him and keep Robertson at third base. That ball bounced about 6 feet in front of home plate.
Two balls and no strikes. Leadoff double by Robertson. He's at third down with 2 outs. Miller skies one in the air toward left field. Hit deep, backing up as Matuk going to the wall. He looks up, and that ball is going to sail out of here and gone. A 2-run shot the other way for Brad Miller, and the Rays have a 2-0 lead. It was only really a matter of fair or foul.
Miller did not play in that many games last year, only 9 home runs, but he takes this ball down and away from him and slices it the opposite way. He got a little help from the wind there, but still give him some credit hitting that ball against a left-hander.
Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from Brad Miller, but the wind is howling toward the left field corner. Here is Jesus Sucre now with the bases empty. And he'll look at ball 1. Sucre, the catcher here this afternoon. The Rays, as you look at their ball club going into this season with Ramos as the starting catcher, a wave and a miss. 1-1. It's going to be strange to watch the Rays this year, Rod, without Longoria at third.
Oh, absolutely. He's been a mainstay there for a decade, and now playing for the San Francisco Giants. They got rid of a lot of power. They hit 228 home runs last year as a team, and 140 of those home runs are gone. Those guys are playing in other places.
Sucre nubs one off the end of the bat toward first, and it's going to be Liriano to tag the runner out and end the inning. However, the Rays scored 2 on the homer by Miller. Lineup this afternoon presented by the Southeast Michigan Ford dealers, and for Ron Gardhire, Machado, Candelario, and Cabrera in your top 3 spots. Castellanos batting cleanup, then V-Mark. McCann catching Matuk, Iglesias, and Jacoby Jones, and they are facing the hard-throwing, and I mean hard-throwing, Nathan Eovaldi.
Yeah, he sits at about 98 miles an hour. In his last outing, he punched out 8 Boston Red Sox. He's going to be in the starting rotation this year for the Tampa Bay Rays, coming off his 2nd Tommy John surgery. Believe that.
And a strike called on Dixon Machado. It is hard enough to make it back to the big leagues after 1 Tommy John, but 2, not too many have done it and had a lot of success.
They say in his last start, his fastball was simply electric. He wasn't touching 98 miles an hour. He was sitting at 98 miles an hour.
Eovaldi's always had a live arm. He missed all of last year with the surgery, but they say that he's added a curveball now, and he's been able to kind of watch things from the sidelines and maybe learn some things.
Yeah, a lot of guys with that curveball. It seems to be the new pitch of choice the last couple of years.
Swing and a miss, and Machado is out of there.
That was 92 with some wicked sink action. What was that? It was 92.
No.
Had change-up action.
Here is Jeimer Candelario. Tigers had a big day yesterday. They pounded out 17 hits. Jeimer had a 2-run double early in the game and also made a fine defensive play behind the bag at 3rd. I think Tigers fans are really going to like to see Jeimer play an entire season. We got a glimpse of what he could do in September.
Yeah, they got him from the Chicago Cubs, and he was their best prospect. And when the Tigers were able to get him last July, he spent some time in the minors, but once he got to the big leagues, he really acquitted himself nicely in the month of September. And a lot of times you don't want to judge young players in the month of September. That's not a good time to judge them, September and in spring training. But this guy, from both sides of the plate, real nice hand coordination, some gap-to-gap power, and as you alluded to, he handles himself well at 3rd base.
A couple of homers this spring, 288 batting average. And he missed it up high.
I think that's his changeup at 90 miles an hour. I think that was a changeup that he struck out Machado with at 92.
Here's the 1-2. Sliced to center field. Kiermaier on the run. And the wind got a hold of that one. Kiermaier had to battle it.
It's pretty much an out, though, when you hit the ball to center field when Kiermaier's out there. And ball took off on him initially, and then as you mentioned, the wind kind of knocked it down, and Kevin came in and made a nice grab.
2 up, 2 down now against the right-hander Eovaldi, and here is Miguel Cabrera. Boy, Miggy has been red hot. I mean, you want to go into the season, I think, swinging the best that you have all spring. I mean, that would be the ideal situation. And for Cabrera, that's what's going on right now. 10 for his last 22.
Yeah, he's been getting loose lately and really driving the ball the opposite way. We talked about that at the top of the show. 3 home runs to right field.
Sliced fair down the right field line. That's going to go to the corner. Cabrera takes the turn. He will hold with a single as Field digs it up in the corner.
This is what makes Miguel Cabrera so special, Mario. Eovaldi is throwing 99 miles an hour. That fastball was 99. And Miguel Cabrera, he's not trying to pull the baseball. You can't pull 99. He pulls his hands in close to his body. You can see the concentration, the head straight down, and he slices that ball the other way. Most hitters are trying to get out in front of 99, but not Miguel. He knows exactly what to do with that pitch.
And he is now 11 for his last 23.
Dude, that was 99.
Well, that's also Miguel Cabrera. Eovaldi now will face Nicholas Castellanos. 0-1 on Nicholas. Average now at 259 here in spring camp, but he has 5 homers. You see, he hit 26 last year for the Tigers and played just about every single day. He appeared in 157 games last year. That'll miss outside. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Yeah, pretty much the coming out party last year for Nicholas Castellanos. 101 RBI. Now playing right field.
Evaldi's 1-1. Dotted the outside corner, 1-2.
Tigers got a pretty nice tune-up in yesterday as well against Fultonevich of the Atlanta Braves. He was throwing 98 miles an hour, but he was a little erratic.
Here's the 1-2, and it's low. 2 balls and 2 strikes. The first Tommy John that Evaldi had was back in high school, so that was a long, long time ago. Then the Tommy John a couple of years ago, his second, but there have really only been about 31 players, I think is the number, that have been able to come back and pitch in the big leagues as a starter after 2 Tommy Johns. And Evaldi will become the 32nd this year. Little chopper toward third, foul.
You know, one of the things that we talked about yesterday was the fact that last year in the major leagues, over 100 guys that were pitching in the big leagues had undergone Tommy John surgery. So, I mean, it's a surgery now that, you know, general managers, they just don't shy away from it. If a guy's had that surgery, they pretty much believe that he's going to get back to the same guy that he was prior to the surgery. In some instances, better.
Nick stays alive. We're talking about a guy in Evaldi here that had it as a junior in high school the first time. I mean, think about that. And he wasn't even in pro ball yet.
That's rough. You don't hear about high school kids going through too much.
No, not a lot. Evaldi goes 6'2", 225, a native of Houston, Texas. Rays lead 2-0 on a first inning home run. Swing and a miss. Down goes Castellanos, and Evaldi with his second strikeout to end the inning. Through Friday home game, fans can get 4 tickets, hot dogs, chips, and drinks for just $18 per person. Go to Tigers.com for more information. Take care of the weekday value package. A really good deal at Comerica this year. First pitch popped up and caught by Machado, and Johnny Field is retired quickly. 1 away here in the second, and that'll bring up Joey Wendell, the second baseman for the Rays. Two-run homer by Brad Miller in the first off Liriano has given Tampa Bay the early lead. It's good to see Liriano get a one-pitch out. I mean, this is something I think Chris Basio has worked with him quite a bit, Rod. In fact, the entire pitching staff really trying to get quicker outs and work at a quicker pace. And seemingly, I think we've seen a little bit of that this spring.
And something else that Chris has been preaching religiously, as we get a look at Michael Fulmer, who was simply spectacular yesterday afternoon. Mr. Basio says he wants strike one. It's one of the most important pitches, if not the most important pitch in all of baseball, as Wendell singles sharply right back up the middle. And the difference between an 0-1 count and a 1-0 count is about 80 to 90 points. So if you're a pitcher, if you get ahead, it just gives you a lot more options. Jordan Zimmerman has done well this year doing it. Michael Fulmer was spectacular yesterday, but that's the one thing Chris Basio wants his guys to really concentrate on.
Well, here is Malik Smith now with one out. I think Liriano at the beginning of camp said one of the things he was concentrating on is getting an out within the first three pitches of every at bat. Now, at times that has worked, but at times it hasn't. He's had some high walk totals at points, different points in spring camp. That's
to play in the big leagues. Mario, this guy can simply fly. We saw him last year, and he's a great bunter. He's a really good base runner, but they really want him to work on his defensive skills.
the 0-1. I was looking up some numbers on Malik Smith before the game today, and you talk about his speed, but there was one time or one season in the minor leagues in which he stole 88 bases.
Ooh.
So he's legit.
In this day and age, 88?
Yeah. That's not seen very often in today's game. Flared down the third base line. It's heading back toward the seats.
And the Rays feel like if they can just get him on base, and then he can really do some damage, stealing bases, going first to third, putting pressure on the pitcher and the catcher and defenses. That's the kind of game the Rays are trying to get back to after trying to slug their way through Boston and New York last year. That's not going to work. They've realized that.
Well, gone, as you mentioned, is a lot of power. Dickerson, Souza, and Longoria, they've all been dealt in the offseason.
Lomo, Morris.
Oh, yeah, forgot about him. And I think in some ways the Tigers are trending that way as well. They do have a couple of guys in the middle, in Castellanos and Vimart and Cabrera, that can hit the home runs, but a little bit more athletic these days. 0-2 on Malik Smith, and he missed it outside. 1-2.
It's a well-located breaking ball by Liriano. Nice job by Smith to lay off of it.
The sun is doing its best to peek through the clouds here this afternoon. Another nice day as we wrap up spring camp for the Lakeland portion. McCann took a shot down there at first base, but Wendell got back. For those that have been here, and we're talking about the players, coaches, and staff since mid-February, they're probably just dying to get home, but it's always kind of sad to see spring camp come to an end every year.
I was talking to Nicholas Castellanos a couple of days ago when they were taking batting practice, and he says, "Man, I'm ready to start the season. I'm ready to play."
I think they all are. And we've talked about this, Rod. You know, position players really don't need as much time as the pitchers do in spring camp.
It's all about the starting pitching. They have to make sure that they get those guys up to 5, 6, 7 innings and 90, 100 pitches before they leave spring.
Bender gets Smith, and there are two gone.
Apparently Liriano working on that slider here today. Some of the Tiger starters, whether it be Jordan, whether it be Fulmer. Yesterday, guys are working on certain pitches, especially the guys that are in the rotation.
Here's Jake Cronenworth. He's batting now with 2 outs and a runner aboard. And he'll look at a strike 0-1.
Hanging slider right there that he got away with.
Cronenworth is a Michigan kid. He went to the University of Michigan and played his high school ball at St. Clair High School. And a strike call painted in the outside corner, 0-2. Cronenworth was a two-way player at Michigan, was their closer and also an infielder. Now Liriano trying to finish him off. Good block by McCann, holding the runner at first base as Cronenworth would not chase.
Well, his alma mater, they've got their work cut out for them in about a week or so. I got Sister Jean and the Loyola Chicago Ramblers. Huh? How about that story?
Sister Jean's mean, man. She's got him into the Final Four.
I love Sister. She said, I pray for our team. I pray for the other team too, but just not as hard. That's what she said.
Well, the Wolverines back in the Final Four. They've got a great shot, I think. I know the Ramblers are a great story.
You betting against Sister Jean?
You know what? I think Michigan's going to the final game. I really do. I think the Ramblers' run comes to an end. But don't bet against Sister Jean.
That's a great story.
2-2 now on Cronenworth. And he held up.
It's a nice little tune-up here for Liriano today. He's already seen several left-handed batters, and the fact that he is working on a slider, it's a good opportunity for him.
We are short one umpire today. James Hoy is not here, so we are working with a three-man crew. Therefore, they couldn't appeal down to third. There wasn't an umpire there. Ken was pointing down to third, but there was nobody there.
Nobody there. He didn't get the memo that James Hoy was not here today.
Runner goes on 3-2 and is fouled away. So Liriano allowed the two-run shot, a couple of extra base hits in the first. He's trying to pitch around a one-out single here in the second in his final spring start. And he'll be a key veteran in the Tigers rotation this year. Missed it up high, walked him. So Cronenworth, the number 9 hitter, draws a walk. 2 on now with 2 outs.
Of course, Ron Gardenhire, very familiar with Francisco Liriano. He managed him when Ron obviously was in Minnesota. Remember they had Johan Santana, and then they had Liriano with that wicked slider. Santana had that unbelievable changeup. Then they had Brad Rackey. He could thread a needle with his pinpoint control, his fastball. They had 3 different types of pitchers, and Ron Gardenhire used all those guys in a really nice way when he was managing Minnesota.
Here is Robertson, Daniel Robertson, who is a regular, but he is wearing 79 today because they forgot his jersey.
Yeah, he hit the first pitch of the game for a solid double to left center field against Liriano.
That number right there is usually reversed or reserved for guys coming over from minor league camp.
Yep.
Snap throw, and Cronenworth just got back. Ooh, Cabrera.
During the regular season, that would be replayed, and we might see this one turned over. It's a nice pickoff. It's an attempt by here McCann. Nice snap throw. Miggy at the bag, and the only thing that you can't tell is whether he missed him or not, but it appeared the ball clearly beat him there. Here we get a better look. Ooh, it's close.
Yeah, he was back. Barely. Little chop to third base, and easy play for Candelario to tag the back for the out. No runs, a walk, a base hit, 2 men left. Tigers baseball today, presented by Bell Tire. New Year at 1:10 against the Pirates. Good seats still available. If you'd like tickets, call 866-66-TIGER or go to tigers.com. Either way, you'll get it done. You don't want to miss the party that is known as opening day in the Motor City.
And it is a party.
Here's Victor Martinez to get things rolling. It'll be V-Mart, then McCann, and then Matuk facing Nathan Eovaldi.
And apparently the weather's going to be kind to us on opening day, around 50 and decent baseball weather.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Not bad. Opening day, 50 degrees.
Against the Pirates, the Tigers starting with a National League club.
The Buccos.
They've had a little bit of a
turnover
facelift as well this offseason.
They really have. Andrew McCutcheon, the face of their franchise, no longer there. He's in San Francisco.
I thought he was one of those guys that would spend his entire career with one team.
I really thought that too. I think analytics has changed that for a lot of guys in the game. I think very few players will end up being staying with their teams for their entire careers, because once those guys get to that free agent year, and if you're not a superstar player, I mean, teams just aren't going to pay. I mean, they're looking at numbers. You saw the free agents this year. I mean, a lot of guys. There's going to be, the game's changed. It really has.
Chop to the first baseman. Routine play there for Crone, and Victor is out.
And I think that's why a lot of guys probably aren't going to spend their entire careers with one team. I can see Jose Altuve doing that now with the new deal that he just signed.
Sure. Here's McCann now with one out. James back in the lineup today after Hicks caught the ball game yesterday. Matt got off to the really good start last year in the month of April, hit 5 home runs, and he is noticeably bigger this year. You could tell, Rod, he worked on his physique a little bit. He's bigger, stronger.
He really is. He's worked long and hard on his hitting as well.
It's going to be an extra base hit down the left field line. McCann is on his way to second base, and he is in there with a double.
This is what happens when you're looking for a 98-mile-per-hour fastball and you get a hanging slider. You catch it out in front as McCann does there, and he's hit that ball right down the third baseline, right past a diving Cronenworth.
And so the Tigers have their second hit. Here's Mikey Matuk. Mikey had 2 of the 17 Tigers hits yesterday, trying to get that spring average up. Little chopper right back to Eovaldi. And they've got McCann hung up. Eovaldi will run him back. Now McCann trying to stay in this rundown long enough to get Matuk to second, then he will. But he is tagged out, 2 away.
As a rule of thumb, obviously, if you're McCann, you have to stay at second base when the ball's hit directly back up the middle. You have to make sure it gets past the pitcher. But if you're the Tigers, you're not necessarily hating the situation, because Montauk would have been out at first base, but now he's on second. He has much better speed than James McCann. He's got a better opportunity to score. But if you're McCann, that's not a ball that you can advance on.
Well, we'll see if Iglesias can knock him in with 2 outs. Jose batting in the 8th slot in this one here today, playing shortstop. Oh, and 1 on Iglesias.
Nice pick by third base coach Dave Clark.
He's smooth.
Yeah, he is. Good third base coach, too. It's one of the reasons why he was a holdover here on this new staff. Does his job very well.
Tigers, a lot of new faces on the coaching staff as well. We'll get into that as the broadcast goes along today. 0-2 on Iglesias. Iggy last year was at 327 with men in scoring position, and while it wasn't an overwhelming season at 255, he did drive in 54 runs. The 0-2. chop to the shortstop. It'll be a routine play there for Robertson, and that'll end the inning. No runs. Tigers get a double with Strandeman, and we go to the third. Only ticket for every game in April for just $29.99, or a reserve seat for every game in April for just $49.99. If you'd like to order the digital ballpark pass, go to tigers.com/pass and get hooked up for the 2018 season. As we go to the third now, it'll be Kevin Kiermaier to lead things off for the Rays, and we're joined by Michael Fulmer, who showed us yesterday that he is ready for the season to start. Michael, congratulations on 7 strong innings yesterday. I assume you have to be feeling pretty good now as spring camp comes to an end.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yesterday kind of proved to myself that we're back to where we wanted to be, and even with the missed start this spring, all things are good to go. And I was excited yesterday, way through the ball.
Here's a bouncer to short. Iglesias, tough play. Quick throw is off target.
Mike, I wanted to ask you, it looked like to me yesterday you were just on top of your game, and I would like for you to say whether you were or not. But when you go into the season this year, is there something that you would like to work on, maybe something that didn't go well for you last year that you would like to improve on?
I think my slider is kind of where it sits right now. It's gotten better. I've kind of messed with a few grips this spring, working with Bosio and Rick Anderson. They've helped me a ton. So I'm looking forward to the slider being a lot better than it was last year. But also yesterday, I don't know if it's a bad problem to have, but every slider was kind of down and really couldn't adjust to kind of throw it for a strike, and they weren't really swinging and missing at him. But yesterday just kind of one thing, but I think the sinker, forced him and changeup yesterday were all good, and we're just going to keep working on that slider.
Yeah, by the way, in the telecast yesterday, Michael, you had just completed your 6th inning, and as you were walking off the field, I said that'll be it for Fulmer today. And then you come out in the 7th inning, and I guess your pitch count was in pretty good shape. But the one thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that you're coming off a surgery, and I think there's still part of you that needs to prove to yourself that you're healthy?
No, I think yesterday kind of covered that, honestly. I got my starts in, I got my pitch count built up and all this stuff like that, but just kind of seeing yesterday the success, and obviously the way the defense played was phenomenal, but Hicks behind the plate as well, he did a great job. But I think yesterday was kind of the turning point, to say the flip was switched, that my next start's going to be the real one. It's going to be for the season, and we got to win that one.
Rick Anderson is the new bullpen coach. Chris Bosio, the new pitching coach, a couple of guys that have had a lot of success in their prior stops. How have those two gentlemen helped you so far, Michael?
Oh, they help me with everything. I feel like I don't want to say I've tweaked everything, but I feel like it's everything. They've been working on my sinker, four seam, obviously changeup and slider as well. But I think the biggest thing with Bosio is it's the mental part of the game. It's the learning hitters, it's the patterns, the pitch calling, whatever you can think of on and off the field. He's done a fantastic job with us, all pitchers.
Michael, I want to talk to you about the a benefit going on right now for Matt Rosenhammer, who is a strength coach in the Tigers organization, was recently diagnosed with testicular cancer. And I know you yourself and a lot of the players are kind of rallying around Matt and trying to help him out, aren't you?
Absolutely. He's a wonderful person, strength conditioning coach. He does everything for this organization, and he's part of the family. So when we kind of heard the news, it was kind of terrifying for us to think that a guy of his stature and shape, getting testicular cancer, it can happen to anybody. So he was in high hopes, but we did a good job of raising money for him. The team did, big league side and minor league side. I know one of the minor leaguers, Evan Hill, started a GoFundMe for him, and that raised about $5,000, which is outstanding. So I want to thank everybody that donated that. On the big league side, we gave him some money this morning, just purely from donations of a lot of donations from us, and obviously we have that auction going on in Detroit right now on the Tigers website, and all proceeds will go to him. So all in all, we're looking about probably $13, $14, or maybe even $15,000 going to him and his family. I know his grandfather just passed away as well, and we've been praying for him and just kind of health for him and kind of blessings to his family. But he was so thankful this morning, and we're just glad to help one of our family members. We love him like a brother.
Michael, I know in your case, even though you're a big league pitcher, I mean, you've been down in Lakeland for a long time, and I'm sure you've gotten a chance to really know Matt. So I know this is special for you to be able to do something like this for a guy that's in the minor leagues.
Oh, absolutely. He was down here early January. I worked out with him quite a bit, not just this year, but the last 2 years as well. He's just a great guy, great strength conditioning coach. He gets you very positive. He gets you through a workout, and he wants you to kind of push up more weight, and he'll get there to you, whether yelling or baby talking you. He'll make sure you get the weight up.
Well, Mike, thanks for the efforts with that, and great job yesterday. We'll see you on opening day.
All right, Mario. Thank you, guys.
Right. Bye-bye. Michael Fulmer, 2-0 Rays lead today. An extended Tigers Live pregame starting at 11 a.m. So make sure you join us for opening day. If you can't make it downtown, believe me, we've got you covered. Rod Allen's going to be working overtime that day.
I'll do whatever I have to do on opening day. You know that.
Yeah, it's a fun time. And we'll have every angle covered for you. Jacoby Jones laced it off here as we go to the bottom of the third. It's 2-0 in favor of the Rays. Our thanks again to Michael Fulmer for joining us after a dominant effort yesterday, talking about the help that he's giving Matt Rosenhammer, who's a strength coach in the Tigers minor league system, for that benefit going on. Jacoby put a charge into this one, to the wall, and that ball is out of here and gone. Jacoby Jones has just homered to start things off here in the third. That is his second spring home run.
Jacoby Jones has really had a good spring training, batting .326 before this at bat. He gets himself a fastball, gets it up in the wind. The wind carries it over the wall, but yet he has had really good spring swings all spring training.
You could tell that ball, as soon as it was off the bat, heading into that jet stream out there in left field, had a really good shot of getting out of here. But as you mentioned, Rod, he has had a great spring.
You know, there were some questions whether he would make the roster or not, because they're going to carry the Rule 5 kid, Victor Reyes, who they drafted from the Arizona Diamondbacks. He has to stay on the roster, and Jacoby Jones had options left. So there were some that were thinking that he would have to go back down to the minor leagues, but he's going to make the team, and he's earned that spot on the roster.
Yeah, there's no doubt he's earned it, and I think he brings an element of athleticism to this roster. The Tigers certainly can use him, and he can steal some bases. He can definitely go get it in the outfield.
Tigers will cover a lot of ground. Phil Clark, the assistant hitting coach there, talking to Jacoby Jones. They've worked long and hard with Jacoby every single morning. I spent a lot of time down in Lakeland this year, getting to know the kids and different transitions as far as the ball club's concerned. Phil Clark was in AA last year. He had Jacoby in AA a couple of years ago. And he said the biggest thing with Jacoby is just get out your own way. Stop thinking so much. He has a tremendous amount of talent.
Getting out of your own way can be difficult sometimes,
especially for a young kid.
Yeah.
But I like the way Jacoby handled the pressure in spring training, and he basically won a job in spring.
Here is Jamer Candelario. Fly to center field in his only at bat against Eovaldi, who fires in a strike, 0-1.
Times have really changed for the coaches, man. You look down in the dugout, and every single coach has got like a pencil and paper down there, jotting down some notes and different things like that. Guys should be able to put it up in a little memory bank. Not no more.
There's a bouncer to second, and Wendell throws him out.
Every last coach down there's got something in his hand.
Well, and there's the key, every last coach, because now you've got coaches for everything. Now you've got assistant coaches, you've got quality control coaches. You know, it wasn't long ago where bench coaches didn't exist.
You have two coaches for some of the positions. They got two hitting coaches now. They've got basically two pitching coaches, with Rick Anderson being the bullpen coach and Chris Bosio. And down in the minor leagues, they have a ton of coaches down there.
Okay, now when you were in the minor leagues,
you had one coach.
You had the manager,
right? One coach, and one trainer.
And that's it.
That was it.
And the trainer did a lot,
too.
Oh,
my goodness. He was a traveling secretary.
Right.
He was the doctor.
Pulled the
he
tarp.
was the lawyer.
The lawyer. Psychologist.
Strength and fitness guy. He was all of it.
Here's Cabrera. And Miggy looks at a ball outside, 1-1.
Yeah, Miggy took a 99-mile-per-hour fastball, took a pretty good swing at it, and sliced it down the opposite way against Eovaldi his first time up. When Miggy's driving the ball the other way, that's when he's at his best.
Nathan Eovaldi, before the surgery, was clocked at 102.4 miles per hour. I mean, that is really bringing it. That was his high water mark in terms of the radar gun. And he'll miss again to Cabrera, 3-1.
Let's see if he challenges Miguel with that upper 90s fastball again.
Miggy loops it in the air toward left center field. That ball is down. A base hit for Cabrera, who just continues to swing it. Now 12 for his last 24 at bats.
The right fielder, Nicholas Castellanos.
This is what Miguel does best, though, Mario. That's a base hit to left field, but this is what we've been encouraged with down here in spring training, driving the ball the other way. He has 3 spring homers. This one against Arrieta a couple of days ago over in Clearwater. That's an opposite field home run. And then yesterday, again, Folstonevich, an opposite field home run. It's what Miggy wasn't really able to do a whole lot of last year because of the injuries that he had. But he's healthy this year, and we should see Miguel get back to those 30 homers and 100 RBI.
Did you think that early on in spring camp, Miguel was just working on things? Because there was some concern that he was not driving the ball with authority the other way.
Yeah, I've watched him go through enough spring trainings to know that Miggy does do that the first couple of weeks. He just kind of gets a feel for it. But this year, he did it a little bit longer to get himself going. Just hand-eye coordination, taking the lower half out. He's a great hitter, put it that way.
Castellanos fanned in his first at bat. He's behind the count, 0-1. Make it 0-2 now on Nicholas.
Here's another young man that has a chance to be a great hitter. we forget really how young Castellanos is. I mean, this guy's been in the big leagues for about 4 years now, but he came to the big leagues when he was about 20 years old.
You know, the other thing about Nicholas is he has reshaped his body physically, too. He is a lot leaner. He is a lot quicker now. He had 10 triples, which led the American League last year. 101 driven in last season. And Eovaldi missed 1 ball and 2 strikes.
He works a lot with Dave Clark, who handles the outfielders on a day-to-day basis, but they also have Mr. Tiger Al Kaline that works with some of the outfielders, and he talks to Nicholas all the time, and he just believes that Nicholas has a chance to be a solid outfielder.
Slice to right, base hit. Nicely done. Cabrera will go to second. Back-to-back hits with 2 outs.
Castellanos has taken the page out of Miguel Cabrera's book. A guy throwing 99 miles an hour. Take a look at the front half. There's not a lot of movement with that front foot. All Nick did was just pick the heel up off the ground, and that stabilizes the lower half and allows you to really use your hands, especially against a guy that's throwing 100 miles an hour.
So the Tigers now have the tying run at second base. Here is Martinez. Victor bounced out his first time up to the first baseman Crone. Martinez last year limited to just 107 games for the Tigers. He's hit 5 homers this spring. He'll drive that one toward left center field, and Malik Smith with a diving catch. What a play out there by Smith. Took a run away and an extra base hit as well. Service, everybody needs a Bell Tire guy. Great day for baseball here in Lakeland as we wrap up the 82nd season of spring training baseball in Lakeland. That is a long relationship the Tigers have had with this city. And another spring camp winding down as Liriano goes back to the hill. Jesus Sucre leading things off for the Rays.
And with all the fabulous renovations that they've made here the last couple of years, the Tigers will be here for a number more years.
You know, I've had so many folks tell me that they had not been here since, I don't know, maybe they were kids and watched the '84 Tigers, and it had been a while since they had been in Lakeland, and they are surprised at this new facility.
Beautiful.
Liriano missing low and in, and the count now 1-2 on Sucre.
You know, we were talking about Ron Gardenhire and some of the people that he has brought over here from Minnesota. But Rick Anderson, we've talked about him, who was the bullpen coach. He was the guy that worked with Liriano the most part when he was in Minnesota. And these guys believe that Liriano could really help this staff. They signed him out after a week after spring training because they felt like they just needed to add another pitcher to take the load off of everybody. And Liriano was that guy because he's familiar with Gardenhire and Anderson.
Rick Anderson, of course, 13 years with Gardenhire in Minnesota.
They're best friends. They also played together in the minor leagues. They also are roommates. I mean, these guys both live in Fort Myers. They have the same kind of relationship that Gene Lamont and Jim Leland have.
Well, high to Sucre, so he started him 0-2, and now he's gone to 3-2. Sucre bounced back to the mound in the first inning, 0-1. The Rays got 2 in the first on a homer by Miller.
And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't know for sure, but Rick Anderson sitting in the dugout, and usually he's down in the bullpen with the bullpen guys, but he might be watching Francisco a little closer today because he knows him well. There he is, sitting right there. The blue glasses on. They all got glasses on.
The guy wearing the Tigers jersey.
The guy in the front.
And again, Liriano with the 3-2. Lifted in the air to center. And Jacoby Jones under it. And Sucre retired, 1 gone in the fourth.
I had a conversation with Bosio yesterday, Chris. Not yesterday, a couple of days ago. He was talking about how the Tigers pitchers, I mean, they got hit hard in, like fastball counts, 1-0 counts and 2-0 counts. And what he wanted some of these guys to do is start throwing more breaking balls in those counts. And Liriano's done a nice job of that today, keeping the Rays off balance with breaking balls in some fastball counts.
How much of that is upon the catchers, though, to call that pitch?
Well, it's a mindset for sure. But once they start to talk about it, and that's what the scouting report tells them when they get together in their meetings, because if it's a good fastball hitting team, the Tigers aren't going to throw that team a bunch of fastballs. Chris Bosio said that's when you start to use your other pitches.
Johnny Field, the batter, he popped up and is only at bat, 0-1. Swing and a miss. Well, Liriano trying to close out spring camp here with a sharp effort, and since the 2-run shot in the first, he's kept the Rays off the board. He was an all-star back in 2006. That'll miss high.
Well, if Fulmer's going to get the ball on Saturday afternoon against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and Liriano more than likely is the starter for Sunday afternoon, correct?
I would think so. Boyd and Norris rounding out the rotation. Mike Fiers DLing to start the year. Little pop-up, flared towards second, and Machado with a tumbling play. Dixon doing it defensively.
Dixon is a shortstop by trade, but plays a very nice second base. And with Ian Kinsler going to the Los Angeles Angels, that job is now Machado's, and he makes a fine play. There's never, ever been a question whether he could play defense in the big leagues.
It is just a matter of whether or not he will hit enough. And we'll find out this year, because he will get his chance. Joey Wendell looks at a strike, 0-1. Wendell last 2 years in the A's system. Ooh. He got drilled by Liriano. 2-out base runner. That'll bring up Alex Smith.
Yeah, nowhere for Wendell to go. You always have to be aware of the bunt when Smith is in the batter's box. That's just part of his game. And regardless of the situation, 2 outs, it doesn't really matter. Guys like him, just like pitchers are working on certain things, he's always working on his bunting.
Candelario is on the grass at third defensively to at least put that in Smith's mind.
He might have to come in a couple more steps, because if Smith gets the ball down third base and he deadens it where he really wants to, Candelario can do nothing. He has that kind of speed.
Smith struck out his only at bat back in the second. He's had a good spring. He's been over 300, 382 coming in today. Pulled on the ground to the right side. Another sprawling play. Machado, quick release to get him. Dixon putting on a show here in this fourth.
Yeah, he is. And Smith can really run.
Get 4 tickets, hot dogs, chips, and drinks for as low as $18 per person. If you'd like tickets, go to tigers.com or call 866-66-TIGER and score the weekday value pack. Here is McCann to get things rolling now for the Tigers here in the bottom of the fourth inning. It'll be McCann, Matuk, and Iglesias against Nathan Eovaldi, who surrendered a run on the home run by Jacoby Jones in the third, and that's it.
And Nathan Eovaldi still sitting at 98, 99 miles an hour with his fastball.
Little pop up, shallow right field, and it's going to be caught on the run by Wendell. One gone. That'll bring up Mikey Matuk. We mentioned that Eovaldi was born in Houston. He grew up in Alvin, Texas, which is also the hometown of another hard-throwing right-hander,
Nolan Ryan.
Oh, Nolan. In fact, they went to the same high school.
Wow.
Not at the same time, obviously.
So I'm sure he grew up idolizing
Had to.
Nolan Ryan, just as a lot of guys that pitchers born in Texas.
And even some that weren't. Justin Verlander was always a Nolan Ryan fan.
Yeah. Although
Matuk.
Verlander's favorite player growing up was Frank Thomas.
Yes.
That's why he wore number 35.
Right.
Big Frank.
How does a guy who throws 100 miles an hour and becomes a big league pitcher have Frank Thomas as his favorite player? It's
Maybe
kinda
he
strange.
probably enjoyed the way he played the game.
Yeah. And JV from the Virginia area. So odd connection there, but there you go. Matuk reaching on a fielder's choice in the second. He also made a tremendous diving play in the outfield in left. Two to one, the Rays lead. We're in the fourth. Little chopper to the right side. On the backhand there, it's Crone. Eovaldi covers, got him. That was a little awkward looking at first base.
Menards brings you the big money encounter. Mario, remember this catch? It was June 16th against the Tampa Rays. Steven Souza Jr. in the batter's box, and look at Iglesias. In the outfield, makes a real nice play. Justin Upton couldn't get there, and there he is.
Upton and Presley were just looking at him going, really? Did you just make that play?
He covers so much ground.
He does that with regularity, and seemingly it's so easy for him. He is 0 for 1 in this game with a bounce out. He'll flare that one back out of play.
He's a wizard with that glove, too, man. I thought maybe he'd have a chance at getting his first gold glove last year, but the guy in L.A., Anderson Simmons, man, is just so good. And there's so many great shortstops in the American League, from Correa to Lindors of the world to just so many talented shortstops.
I think we had our first glimpse at how great Iglesias could be when he made that play in Chicago, that play in which he charged in on a ball and went flying through the air as he threw to first base.
Threw off balance, flying in the air.
Pretty special. But it's a big year for Iglesias. Iggy trying to improve on his offensive numbers from last year. Eovaldi now with the 1-2. Where do you got Iglesias in the lineup now? It looks like, obviously Leonis Martin's going to lead off, and it's starting to look like Candelario will be your number 2 man.
Well, I kind of like Iglesias down at the bottom of the batting order. I just think that the last couple of years when he's batted at the bottom of the order, he's been a real nice stabilizer down there. He doesn't strike out that often. He turns the lineup over to the top. He also has legitimate speed, so I like him at the bottom. If he's not going to lead off or bat second, I like him at the bottom. I like him 9th, actually.
Batting 8th in the lineup today with Jacoby Jones hitting 9th. Jacoby waiting on deck. Swing and a miss, and down he goes as Eovaldi picks up a strikeout. 1-2-3 for Nathan Eovaldi. Marchant Stadium, the Tigers trailing Tampa. 2-1 is our score, and for the Rays, Jake Cronenworth will lead things off. And Liriano pours in a strike on the outer edge, 0-1. Cronenworth and then Robertson and Kiermaier. A little bit outside, 1 ball and 1 strike. Cronenworth in the minor leagues last year at one point had a 25-game hitting streak.
He looks like he should still be in high school.
Wasn't too long ago that he was playing in St. Clair, Michigan, St. Clair High School. That team, by the way, also had another kid that was drafted by the name of Joel Sutton, who was drafted by the A's. So a couple of guys off that St. Clair team drafted to professional baseball.
And good for them.
Here's the 1-2, and he just missed.
He hit the glove. Manny Gonzalez is the home plate umpire. Long look in for Manny. Francisco shaking his head. McCann also held the glove there, gave him a nice long look at it. McCann has a new catching coach this year, buddy. Steve Little is the bench coach who spent a lot of years with Ron Gardenhire in Minnesota. He's now the one that's going to help James McCann get better behind the plate.
Fouled back out of play. Had they been working on anything to this point?
Well, one of the things that Steve told me regarding James McCann that they really want him to do is they want him to get closer to the batter, closer to home plate. They felt like he was too far back the last couple of years, and because of that, where he was receiving the ball, when he would receive it, it would be out of the strike zone. So what they want to do is get him up a little closer so that when he does frame the ball, it's still up there where the umpire can see it. Did that hit him?
He buckled out of the way. I know he took a swing at it.
It looked like that two-seam fastball almost ran in and hit him as he took a swing at it. It did.
Ooh. How about that? 3-2 on Cronenworth. Robertson, Kiermaier to follow here for the Rays. And he lost him, so the number 9 hitter draws a pair of walks against Liriano.
The shortstop, Daniel Robertson.
A couple of walks and a hit batter for Francisco today. Here is Daniel Robertson.
That's pretty good. 12 of 18 today in first pitch strikes for Liriano. Really the only couple of blemishes of those 2 base on balls you just talked about to the number 9 hitter.
Robertson looks at ball 1 high.
I'm not a pitching coach, but it just looks like to me sometimes, like that last pitch, and maybe we'll take a look at it after this pitch. It looks like he flies open with that front shoulder, Mario, toward the third base side, and his arm lags, and those fastballs, they stay up and away from the right-handed batter.
That's in there, a strike.
Here's this pitch. Watch that front side. How it's just hard. It just flies open way too quick, and all of a sudden that ball, the arm never catches up.
Absolutely.
I mean, you got to leave that front shoulder kind of locked and loaded a little bit longer toward home plate, and that will allow the arm to get up, and he'll probably be a lot more efficient with that ball in the strike zone.
2-1.
I think those balls are staying up for a reason.
Liriano signed by the Tigers late February 23rd.
He told me he was getting ready. He was starting to get a little worried.
A lot of guys getting a little antsy this year. That's popped up right side. It's going to be Machado. Dixon stays with it. 1 gone. That'll bring up Kiermaier.
The center fielder.
It looked like Miggy wanted no part of this.
He didn't want no part of it. Like, where are you at?
He's backpedaling.
It's spring training. Miggy said, you take it. You need to work on your pop-ups.
Yeah, he had his back.
It's good to see him smiling, though, because when he's smiling, you know he's feeling better, you know he's feeling good, and you know that pitcher's going to pay.
You know, I think last year as the Tigers were struggling, it obviously was weighing on everybody in that clubhouse, and they were struggling with a very good team. This is before the Tigers cleaned house, so to speak, in terms of trading all their veterans away. But I think Miguel has come to camp this year and has realized that this is what we have. I need to buy into this if I want to be a leader, and that's going to be critical for them.
Absolutely. And he's always been a leader by example, a guy that they've watched on the field. He's been great. He's a Hall of Fame player. But if you go in the clubhouse now, then Miggy's always holding court with some of the younger players, and they're always talking about hitting. They're always talking about the game. A lot of these younger players, they grew up idolizing Miguel Cabrera, especially the young Venezuelan kids.
Well, there are fewer veterans, to be sure, in that clubhouse. Guys like Victor and Miguel are going to be two of the guys that have been around the longest for the Tigers.
Victor Reyes, the Rule 5 player that made the roster, he's from Venezuela. He said Miggy is his idol. He loved watching Miggy growing up. Also loved watching Magglio Ordonez play baseball.
And I often wondered what it's like for a young player to walk into a locker room and be on the same club as a guy that, you know, you've idolized. All of a sudden you're lockering next to him.
Yeah, you've been watching him since you were in elementary.
1 ball and 2 strikes.
Miggy hit 16 home runs and drove in 60 runs last year, and everybody talks about that's a bad season. There are guys that will take that for about 10 years. You have a nice career. 16 home runs, 60 RBIs every year. You can play in the big leagues for a decade.
Yeah, no doubt. But that's not Miguel Cabrera territory.
No, he set the bar so high.
Swing and a miss. He got Kiermaier chasing, and there are 2 gone.
Number 15, C.J. Crone.
And real nice slider, real nice tight spin. One of the better sliders he's thrown today. That one looked like a fastball and stayed on fastball plane until about the last couple of feet, then darted away from Kiermaier.
4 strikeouts now for Liriano. His total is 80 pitches to this point. Here is C.J. Crone. He didn't like that call from Manny Gonzalez.
We were talking about Crone, who came from the Angels. The last number of years, he really hasn't had a chance to get consistent at reps because it was Trumbo at first, and then it was Pujols, and he just really has never been an everyday player. But the Rays believe, Mario, even though they gave up a lot of power, and the guys that we talked about earlier in the show, the Lomos of the world and Longorias and Souza Juniors, they believe this young man right here could hit 30 home runs if you give him 500 at-bats.
Well, he had 16 last year, so yeah, he would project to have the ability to do that.
He's always had scary power.
Crone grew up in a baseball family. His dad, Chris Crone, played in the Angels system, got to the big leagues briefly, and also with the Chicago White Sox.
He attended the rival high school that my youngest son, Andrew, went to, and they played against each other in high school. They're both from the Phoenix area. Chris Crone, his dad, now the hitting coordinator for the Arizona Diamondbacks.
On the ground to the shortstop, Iglesias will fire to second to retire the side, and we go to the bottom of the 5th.
against Nathan Eovaldi. A fastball got up in that jet stream and hit his second home run of the spring. Or does he have 3?
Nope, you're right, his second. Jacoby, then Machado, then Candelario facing Nathan Eovaldi.
Tigers are going to cover a lot more ground in the outfield this year with guys like Jones and Matuk and Leonis Martin and the youngster Victor Reyes, excuse me. Boy, they got some speed in the outfield. Dave Clark told me the other day he's excited about the ground those guys can cover.
A tough play for the shortstop and a soft target. Robertson did the best he could. It's an infield hit.
Ball appeared to trickle off the glove of Cronenworth. It did, right to the shortstop, Robertson. Jacoby, too much speed.
Well, when you talk about outfields that need speed, Comerica Park might be one of those outfields with the gaps and how deep it is.
Very spacious. One of the biggest outfields in all of baseball. Center fielders love playing there. They can cover a tremendous amount of ground. And nobody out here. You wonder if maybe a hit and run or something might be on here with Mr. Gardenhire and Machado. Machado can handle the bat. Jacoby, one of those guys that likes to steal bases too. I'm sure he'll get the green light on occasion.
Jacoby in the minor leagues has stolen as many as 25 in a year.
Good speed. He's got a big lead.
Way high. Eovaldi now has gone 2-0 on Machado, and Eovaldi kind of bent over after that last pitch.
Even though Eovaldi's throwing 100 miles an hour, they still vacate basically the right side of the infield, where most guys aren't going to pull 99 anyway. He's got a huge hole on the right side of the infield between first and second. You saw Castellanos shoot that hole a couple of at-bats ago. Look how much room that is, Mario. And pretty much if a guy's throwing 99, I mean, most guys aren't going to pull that.
No,
they're going to hit it that way.
Two 2-0 on Machado. Sliced right to the second baseman. Man, they had him played beautifully. Well, there's your answer.
Yeah.
Wow.
What do we know?
The analytics said take that. 2 gone.
One hopper right at the second baseman window. Taylor-made double play.
Well, there's one time where it worked out.
Yeah.
I mean, to a T.
No, it sure did. Well, the Rays pretty much were the poster child for analytics back in the day when Joe Madden was there. I mean, they were on to analytics pretty much before any other team was. And then obviously other teams got involved with a lot of the analytics and different things like that. Every team now uses it. Wouldn't you say they were pretty much out there in the front of this thing?
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. But you wonder, with a guy like Machado, I mean, there's not as much data out there on Machado as there would be a guy that's been in the big leagues for 10 years.
Nope, not at all.
And they still had it played perfectly.
They sure did.
Candelario with a fly ball and a ground out. He's 0 for 2. Jamer only 24 years old. Part of the rebuild here in Detroit, anchoring third base.
He's got a really young roster.
You know, the one thing we talked about with Candelario is his ability to hit for power and not necessarily homers. But last year in AAA, 15 homers and 36 doubles. So he's a guy that can shoot the gap.
Yeah, I think eventually he's got a chance to be a 20 to 25 homer guy with 30 doubles a season. He's got great hand-eye coordination. He'll take a walk, doesn't leave the strike zone all that frequently. He's worked the count into his favor now, 3-1.
3-2 on Candelario with Cabrera waiting on deck.
Had a chance to catch up with Jamer on the backfield early in spring training, and we did some tee work and some front side work, and it's one of the things that he really works on every single day, as do a lot of these players. They've got routines, man.
And he lost him, ball 4. 2-out walk for Eovaldi.
first baseman, Miguel.
His pitch count right now is at about 70. They were looking for, I don't know, 90 or so today from Eovaldi.
The Rays are going to go with a 4-man rotation this year. They're going to have a bullpen day.
Part of the reasoning behind that, I think, is the fact they have 8 off days in their first 36 days of the season.
Wow.
And so, yeah, that 5th spot is going to be a bullpen day.
Yeah, there are a lot more days off this year for all the teams. I mean, Fridays off. Some teams get Sundays off this year. I mean, those are the 2 days that you can count on: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You always played on those days in baseball.
Never got those days off. $15 of 21 for Eovaldi in first pitch strikes. Miggy's gotten him twice, couple of singles. And now 12 for his last 24 at bats.
He's ready to go.
Cabrera is, for his career, sitting on 462 home runs. And you mentioned he had only 16 last year, but you can guess that with health this year, that number will jump considerably. The 2-0.
Knocking on the door to 500.
He is. That is the next milestone for Cabrera. Mickey had a streak of 7 consecutive years of making the All-Star team come to an end last year. I don't think people really realize, not even last year, but the last 4 or 5 years, the injuries these guys played with.
Right.
And played through. In the air to right field. Field is there, and he'll haul it in. So the Tigers are turned back. Tigers baseball today presented by Bell Tire. Tickets still available for opening day, 866-66-TIGER, or go to tigers.com. The pageantry, the sights, the sounds. The home white uniforms always look a little bit whiter that day, don't they?
They do, don't they?
They look clean.
They're always clean.
Liriano back to the mound now as we go to the 6th inning. It'll be Brad Miller, Jesus Sucre, and Johnny Field against the veteran lefty.
The only blemish really today against Francisco Liriano, it came back in the very first inning, a 2-run home run off the bat of Brad Miller, the opposite way.
Which may have been aided by the wind. There's a wave and a miss.
He's had a good slider today. He's hung a few, but by and large, he's thrown some really nice, tight sliders with some really good spin on them.
It's been his bread and butter over his career. Opponents are batting 163 against the slider.
It's been his signature pitch.
1-2 is outside, 2-2. Daniel Stump, by the way, is going to join us now, and of course he is going to be a big part of the Tigers bullpen this year. Daniel, thanks for joining us. It's been a really good spring for you. You guys, I assume, are ready to go for opening day, and talk about your spring. You happy with it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel good. I just wanted to come into camp, compete. There's a lot of options out there this spring, so I feel good and ready to get up north.
How do you feel about the way you went about your business last year, Dan? You had an outstanding season, in my opinion. 55 games, career high, a 3.82 ERA out of the bullpen. How did you feel with your efforts last season?
I felt good, going in there and just competing, getting my feet wet whenever I could, taking the ball whenever I could. I felt good with it. I definitely think that I had a little more in the tank to, finish stronger, and that's what I plan to do this year.
How do you take care of that, Daniel? I think experience is probably the best teacher in terms of what you need to do to get ready to go 162 games and then pitch deep into September and be fresh. But are there things that maybe you learned last year that can help you this year to kind of get you past that a little bit farther?
Definitely. I kind of want to limit myself when I get up to get hot, because there's a few times where you might not get in the game at that time. So just kind of limit your pitches because you still got some out there on the mound. So to be able to save some bullets that way, I think is going to be a big deal. Just take care of my body throughout the year, and just try to stay healthy is a big key.
Daniel, what are you? Fastball, slider, change, curve, or what are your main pitches?
Yeah, I got a fastball, slider, and I actually brought a new change into camp this year, and that was one of the main things that I wanted to do. I think it's going to help me out a little bit against right-handed hitters, and that was one of my main keys coming into camp this year, was to try to come in and do that.
Are you using it?
I am. I felt like it's been a good pitch for me this spring. I've done it several times. I feel really good with it. So that was one of the main things that I wanted to work on this past winter, and I came into camp with it and threw it, and I was talking to McCann about it, and he was saying that it's going to be a pitch that is now something that I can use, and it's more of a plus pitch for me instead of kind of just that junk pitch to where it's not really going to do much for me.
Chatting with Daniel Stump, who's going to be a key part of the Tigers bullpen this year as the Tigers get ready for opening day on Thursday. And Daniel, you had Frankie Rodriguez in the bullpen last year as a veteran leader, and now you look at your bullpen mix and it's kind of young. Are there any guys that might step up as leaders this year, and could you be one of those guys?
Yeah, we had Frankie last year, and obviously we have Alex Wilson and Shane Green coming back, and you got Drew Verhagen and Buck Farmer. Myself, where we also have had a little bit of time. So I think the group of guys that we have out there, we're gonna have great chemistry this year. We're excited about our new staff. I think it's gonna be really good.
There's a foul back out of play by Johnny Field.
You went the community college route to get to the major leagues. What was that like for you coming out of high school, going to a community college before getting a chance to play professional baseball?
Yeah, I didn't play much in high school. I think my senior year I pitched 6 innings. I took a full year off, and then I ended up, throwing and stuff like that still. I went to San Jacinto Junior College. I think I threw 27 innings my first year. And I was a starter, and then I came back my sophomore year, and I threw 133. We went to the JUCO World Series and all that. So when I ended up getting drafted by the Royals, they moved me to the bullpen, and I threw 33 more that year. So it was a workload for me that year, that's for sure. And I definitely think going to San Jack, that kind of helped me out some to where I was able to progress, and I think it got me some looks to where I was able to get drafted, and kind of a stepping stone to where I am today.
We read a lot of bios throughout the course of the year. San Jacinto comes up a lot. That's a school that's produced a lot of big league players, or at least professional players, isn't it?
Yeah, no, they kind of do a thing while they're out there, like guys that have made it to the big leagues. They have them, a picture of them out on the wall. But Andy Pettit went there, and Roger Clemens went there. You have guys like Brandon Belt.
Yeah.
There's been quite a few guys taken out of there that have done stuff. So it's definitely a powerhouse junior college, that's for sure.
They got you up on the wall yet?
I'm up there.
Boy.
I made the wall.
You made the wall. Congratulations.
Daniel, it's great having you. Thanks for taking time, and we wish you the best this year. Thank you.
Awesome. I appreciate it, guys.
Have a great day.
Daniel Stump, and Man, that power arm comes from the left side out of the bullpen. Those guys are big.
You got some good guys on this team, man. He is one of them, man. I wanted to get him like 3 days ago for an interview, and for whatever reason, he couldn't do it. And then the next day, he comes up to me. I could do it for you today. And then we weren't on TV. I said, wait till we get back on television. So he finds me again today. I love that. I mean, Daniel's a good kid. I mean, you ask him, and they want to do you a favor. I appreciate that.
It's a good clubhouse.
It is. A lot of fun.
Wendell, the batter here. 2-1 the Rays lead. We're in the 6th.
You know, sometimes we come down here and we just scramble to get a couple of interviews.
We're scraping, baby.
But we've been good this year.
Meanwhile, Liriano has another strikeout. That's all for the Rays in the 6th. You connected every day with live radio calls, video highlights, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB at Bat now. It's your #1 Detroit Tigers app. Nathan Eovaldi goes back to the hill now as the Tigers come up in the 6th. Down by a run. It'll be Castellanos, Martinez, and McCann.
There's that curveball that Eovaldi has worked on this spring. That one he just didn't pull down. He left that one up a little bit too high.
Bouncing ball left side of the infield, cut off at third, and Cronenworth throws him out. One gone.
The designated hitter, Victor Martinez.
We'll bring up Victor Martinez. V-Mart is 0 for 2. He was robbed by Malik Smith in his last at bat. Smith with a diving play out and left.
That's what they've really worked a lot on with Malik Smith, is his defense. And Kevin Cash, the manager, told him going into the offseason that's the one thing they really wanted him to concentrate on, was get better defensively, and Malik worked hard on it.
Defense can win you a lot of games. Sometimes it goes unnoticed. I think outfield defense now, teams are putting more of a premium on it.
Teams are putting more of a premium on being more athletic and better defensively. I mean, because everybody can't slug with the Yankees and the Boston Red Sox, the Houston Astros. So you have to find other ways to be productive, and that's exactly the route that Tampa's gone this year. They want to be better defensively. They want to catch the ball in the outfield. They've got to pitch, obviously, and not strike out nearly as much as they did last year.
Well, their pitching staff is going to be anchored by Chris Archer, and he is a good one to be sure. Blake Snell is also in the rotation. But as you mentioned, they will go with a 4-man rotation based on the fact that they've got all those off days, and they're going to go with a bullpen day. But Jacob Faria, we saw him pitch last year.
He's got good stuff.
In Detroit, he was really good. And, of course, Eovaldi, who's going today. high fly ball center field. It's playable. 2 gone.
The catcher, James McCann.
That'll bring up McCann. James had a double but was stranded back in the second. He is 1 out of 2 in this game. Eovaldi now is up to 80 pitches here this afternoon.
Evaldi's next start will be against the Boston Red Sox, who start the regular season at the Trop in St. Pete.
The 0-1. Archer, of course, will be their opening day starter. McCann drives one deep to left field, way back. It's going to the track, to the wall, and gone. Onto the berm in left field. James McCann has homered with 2 outs in the 6th.
When that ball left to McCannon's bat, I thought it was going to hit the scoreboard, Mario. He got all of that hanging slide piece.
Then he built that thing.
Good to see him finish on a really good note. He's already doubled, and now a huge, I mean huge, home run. That slider just hanging, and he killed it.
That is the 2nd home run allowed by Eovaldi today. The other belongs to Jacoby Jones. And we're all tied at 2.
No win needed to help that one.
Not at all. Here's Mikey Matuk. 0-1 to Mikey.
Yeah, Mikey Matuk, former #1 draft choice of the Tampa Bay Rays, catching up with a lot of his former teammates before the game, former manager as well, Kevin Cash.
Mikey played his college ball at LSU. In fact, was a college teammate of Jacoby Jones, his current Tigers teammate here. Jacoby was a freshman at LSU, and Mikey was a junior, putting together an All-American career, and was about to be, as Rod mentioned, a first-round pick of the Rays. And they're reunited again in the big leagues. That'll miss low. It's always one of the things about baseball that you wonder about, how strange it is to break in an organization, get to the big leagues in an organization, and move along. And you still got plenty of friends, I'm sure, in that system. Know a lot of the staff, but that's the way the game is.
He's got a really good opportunity here. Does Mikey Matuk. I know the staff loves him. I know Al Avila absolutely loved what he did last year in the Tigers uniform, and that's the reason why pretty much on opening day he's the starting left fielder.
Just got a piece of that one to stay alive.
Oh, Jim Leland.
He's looking for an ear to bend, isn't he?
John Westhoff. They're sitting talking to Jim Leland. John Westhoff is the one that handles all the purse strings for the Tigers. He handles the signing bonuses. He handles the contracts. He's the guy that gets the guys in camp, and he does a marvelous job at it. He just looks like he can handle some money, doesn't he, Mario?
Yes, he does.
Look like he could be a good accountant.
Well, Skipper's, he's all over the place at spring camp.
I've enjoyed my time down here with the skipper.
Well, the Tigers have tied it up on the James McCann home run, his first of the spring. Went up off Nathan Eovaldi, and they've got some changes now, and they out of the bullpen for the Tigers is going to be Shane Green.
And Green is the Tigers closer to begin this season, 2018. He's had a good spring, 1-0 with a 1.29 ERA, 10 strikeouts in 7 innings, and a pretty good whip as well. So Shane Green looks like he's ready to handle that closer's role.
And it's going to be Malik Smith to get things started now for the Rays, all tied up at 2.
He hasn't bunted yet. Green pitched in 71 games last year, 43 record with 9 saves. Before he went on to be the closer, it was looking like he was going to lead the world in appearances.
Right. I thought for sure he'd get to 80 and probably would have.
Man, was he getting used a lot.
That was the 6th most in the American League, the 71 appearances.
Yeah. And that's the only reason why he did not lead the American League in appearances, because he became the closer. And, of course, closers only get used for the most part when you're winning, although Brad had to use Shane Green a lot last year down the stretch in non-save situations.
Well, he got his chance when Frankie Rodriguez was released in June. Justin Wilson then took over, and Justin was traded to the Cubs, and then Green became the closer in August.
Last year was his first full season as a reliever, so there were a lot of adjustments for Shane Green during the course of last year, pitching in a variety of different roles, early, setup, late. When the Tigers acquired him, he was a starter.
Yeah. It looked like that might be where his future was going to be. Shane missing outside, and the count now goes 3-2 on Malik Smith. Green had that really good stretch in the month of July. In fact, was the Tigers pitcher of the month in July. Before assuming the closer's role, he gave up no earned runs in 10 2/3 that month. In on his hands in the shallow right center field, and it's going to be run down by Jones. 1 away.
The third baseman, Jacob Cronenworth.
This copyrighted telecast presented by the Authority of Detroit Tigers. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Detroit Tigers.
1 away here for Jake Cronenworth.
I'm going to ask you a question. I don't know if you remember or not, but you probably do. Who was that classic at-bat that Green had against last year? Like 14 pitches, real late.
Yeah.
And he was able to strike him out. Remember, he walked off pumping his chest.
Yep.
Classic confrontation.
I can remember him walking off the mound. I can't remember who it was against.
Man, that was fun. Good theater. I know somebody remembers.
That's a strike call. Oh, I'm sure.
That was a classic confrontation.
One ball, one strike, the count. Ooh, wave and a miss.
Yeah, breaking ball that stays up. Big swing there by Cronenworth. Shane Green's got a couple fastballs, 4-seam, 2-seam, good breaking ball. Got a changeup as well. That's his best pitch right there, that little 2-seam fastball right there with a lot of late life on it.
Well, what'd you get on Liriano today? I mean, he gave up that 2-run homer early on, but
he
after
threw
that,
strikes.
Yeah,
he threw strikes. I was encouraged by the way that he attacked the strike zone today. Did have a couple of walks. He pitched against a lot of left-handers today, which allowed him to work on his slider, and he threw some good sliders. But the key for him is going to be getting ahead, because once Francisco's able to get ahead, then he can really expand the strike zone, because he's got a lot of movement on everything he throws. What was that, catcher's interference?
Must have been. Yeah, they've given Cronenworth first base on catcher's interference.
That's funny how we were having a conversation, you and I, yesterday, and we were talking about catcher's interference. And Steve Little, who is now the new catching instructor for the Tigers, told me that James McCann has never been called for a catcher's interference.
Guess what?
Guess what? but get this. He told me he would like to see that happen this year on occasion, because what that tells him is that James McCann now is closer to the hitter. Remember we talked about that earlier in the game?
Which is what they want.
This is what they want. They said last year he was too far back, and where he was catching the ball would always be out of the strike zone. So it's ironic that that would happen here today when we were talking about that. They wanted him to scoot up closer to the batter to steal some strikes.
So there's evidence of progress for McCann. Robertson, the batter. You know, it's funny because you talk about nuances of catching and how some guys, some pitchers prefer certain catchers because of the way they're able to nuance it, present balls, and even little things like that, like moving up and attacking the ball more so.
Yeah. I mean, McCann is strong. I mean, he's whatever he is, 6'3", 6'4", 240. Big, strong wrist. Steve Little said the key for McCann was to get that glove out there and grab that baseball and make sure you present it to the umpire so they can get a really good look at it. But if you're always back and you're letting the ball dictate what you're going to do with your glove, then you're not going to get all those strikes that you want to get.
Robertson 1 for 3 today for the Rays. Had a double in the first and scored on the home run by Miller. And Green missing outside again. Liriano started. Shane Green throwing in this game. Joe Jimenez also scheduled to throw for the Tigers in this game.
Joe's looked good this spring.
They are going to need him. Hopefully this will be the year where Jimenez takes that next step. Nothing really more to prove in the minor leagues for Big Joe. Oh, he got him, strike 3. Manny Gonzalez says you're out of there. Robertson didn't like it.
Let's take a look at the glove work here of McCann. He catches it out in front, and look at him ever so slightly pull it up, but he pulls it up very quietly, and he sticks it. And that's how you get those strikes called. If you've got too much movement with your glove, you're never going to get those borderline pitches called.
Here's Michael Smith. He gets his first at bat. He took over defensively for Kiermaier last half inning.
How big is this guy? He's a little bitty fella.
4'3", I think.
Man.
And Smith looks at the ball inside. Tigers 2, Rays 2. We're in the 7th. A couple of Tigers homers in this game, tying it up. Swing and a miss.
There's that two-seamer at 94. Great late life, tailing action away from the left-hander. Nice job of catching that ball by James, too.
Smith is listed at 5'11", 165.
He looks like he's about 140. It's all good, though.
Well, we've proven in baseball that you can be any size to play this game.
Jose Altuve. Love him. Good to see him rewarded, too, with that nice contract that Houston gave him. He earned it.
Smith last year in the minor leagues for the Rays hit 285. Guess how many home runs he hit?
None.
Swing and a miss, down he goes. And so Shane Green picks up a couple of strikeouts. We'll go to the bottom of the 7th. Coming up, the Consumers Energy 7th inning stretch. Liriano started this one for the Tigers, and as Rod mentioned earlier, looked pretty good. He had 4 strikeouts in 5 innings. A couple long balls as well today for the Tigers.
And it looked like he was working on that breaking ball, which was a good pitch today.
And so the Tigers now here in the bottom of the 7th. So for the Tigers, it'll be Iglesias to get things started here. Then Jacoby Jones will follow. And the first one is in there for a strike. In the air towards center field, Smith cruising over. And look out, almost a collision out there. One gone as Iglesias is retired.
Harrison looks like he could be tough on left-handed batters. He stands on the first base side of the rubber, and then once he takes his wind up and delivers the baseball, he jumps over toward first base and really throws back across his body. Not much of a problem for right-handed batters, but he could give lefties an issue. And watch how he throws across his body.
Jones fouls it off 0-1. So Evaldi and Liriano, the starters, have both since departed. Jacoby with a homer. An infield single. Swing and a miss. Harrison last year at 3.28 ERA at AA Montgomery in the Southern League.
Montgomery, the Southern League. Man, that's a hot league.
Oh, sure is. Long bus rides too, huh?
Yes, indeed.
Great play at third base and a scoop at first, but dropped. And Jones is aboard.
I wonder how they're going to rule that. Might as well give him a hit.
Oh, absolutely. Nice play.
Real nice play.
Good throw gets him.
Yeah, it does. Good speed by Jacoby. Like that ball hit thrown on the football, stayed down. Nice day's work for Jacoby.
Troy Montgomery running at first base. Machado looks at a strike.
What you think about the division this year?
That's
Obviously, a lot of people believe that the Indians are still a really good team, but they've got some question marks as far as their pitching is concerned a little bit this year.
I still think the Indians are the class of the Central. They are the deepest team. I think they're one of the better teams in the American League.
Yeah.
I think the Twins are going to be pretty good. With the moves they've made in the offseason, they've improved their ball club. I think the Royals, Alan Vila was saying the Royals are going to be better than people think.
I do too. I think so. You think you think so?
I agree with it. I think they will be better.
I mean, they've got a lot of good guys on that team.
The young talent in Chicago is very intriguing.
What was the name? That guy second base, Cuthbert.
Man,
he wore us out last year.
Yeah, and they got Moustakas back.
Yeah. Didn't Escobar re-sign with them too?
He did.
Alcides,
yep,
yeah.
He's back.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost Kane.
And they still got Gordon.
Lost Hosmer.
If they could get that Solar kid, to wake up, Jorge Solar, the guy they get from the Cubs, big guy Soler, they can get him to wake up, man. They might be on to something.
Here's how it shook out last year. The Indians won on that, of course, that huge winning streak. They won 102 games last year.
I did not realize they won 102 last year. Did not realize that.
No, but they got bounced in the postseason.
Minnesota is going to be interesting. I mean, what they were able to do, they lost 100 games a year before. They got to the postseason last year, and they've made a lot of adjustments with their roster. They signed some guys this year. They signed about 7 players, Mario, 6 of them to one-year contracts.
That is a foul ball.
So the Minnesota Twins really took advantage of the market and the players that were out there, and they gave some guys one-year deals.
Well, and I think when you look at the way they've had to run their books, that's probably the best way they were going to be able to compete.
Yeah.
You know, they got Santana at the top of the rotation, but he's going to be on the DL to start the year. They traded for Odorizzi, signed Lance Lynn, so their rotation is much improved.
Yep, and they got the young kid who's very good.
Barrios.
Yep.
2-2 is the count on Dixon Machado. Runner goes. That is fouled back out of play.
Chicago's a team that could surprise some people because they've got so much talent, but a lot of it's very young, untapped talent. But if they can get 1 or 2 of those young players to really wake up, along with Jose Abreu and a couple of the other veterans they might have, Avi Garcia, if he does what he did last year, they're gonna scare some people.
Yeah, I like the White Sox. I think that you know, they're another team like the Tigers that have a lot of good young pitching, but it's still on the periphery. Will they make their mark this year? It's this season where, you know, guys like Michael Fulmer, not Michael, but rather who is their Fulmer?
They have a Fulmer, Carson Fulmer.
Yeah. He is awfully good.
I don't know what it was. And I don't know what it was about them last year. Every guy that trotted out of their bullpen was throwing 96, 97 miles an hour.
2 gone now, and here is Candelario.
And Jamer, his first at bat today, batting right-handed.
Jamer with a walk, a ground ball, and a fly ball. Jamer rolls that one just fouled at third base. Tigers fell behind 2-0, tied it up on the home run by McCann in the 6th. Their second home run of the day. Jacoby Jones got one back in the 3rd on a solo shot. High, towering fly ball to center field. Smith cruising back is under it, and that will end the inning. No runs, a hit, 1 man left. Tigers baseball today presented by Bell Tire. Jordan Zimmerman We'll get the call on opening day against Ivan Nova of the Pirates.
And Nova won 11 games last year, lost 14. Jordan 8 and 13 a season ago. Both guys will get the opening day starts for their respective squads on Thursday.
We look forward to that. In the meantime, these folks right here trying to hold on to spring training as long as they can.
Now pitching for the Tigers, number 84,
Philippe Almont will come on now and pitch for the Tigers.
for Tampa Bay. The first baseman.
So he'll get an inning's worth of work here. As we go to the top of the 8th in a 2-2 ball game. CJ Crone will lead things off.
He has hit the ball to the shortstop a couple of times today. Actually, one of the pitcher, I believe.
Crone had that ball taken away by Mikey Mata. Great diving play and left. It would have been a double. Had some good defense here this afternoon. Alex Smith made a diving play.
That's one of the things that both of these teams want to get better in 2018. They want to be better defensive teams.
Swing and a miss.
Nice slide piece here, 83. Ahmad's got a nice little two-seamer.
Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit is brought to you by Comerica Bank. Raise your expectations of what a bank can be. Come to Comerica. Jeep. See your Jeep dealer today and experience the freedom that comes with legendary capability. And by Marygrove Awnings, home of the best Michigan-made shade. We had the Paracommandos jumping into the stadium before the game today, putting on a show before this one started. There's a pop up to second to retire the second batter of the inning. 2 gone now.
Yeah, I was talking to them in the parking lot before the game, and they weren't quite sure whether they were going to be able to jump today because it was a little windy, but they got it done.
Yeah, I think they had to circle around, and the jump took a little bit longer than normal, but they got her done. 2 gone now for Sucre.
I don't know the reason, but there's a reason that Amont is over here throwing in this particular game this late in spring training with only 1 day to go.
Well, he has not pitched in the big league since 2015. He had 4 years in the majors with Philadelphia.
They are taking a look at him to see if he's a guy that might be able to help them during the course of the year. He's got 93 with the sinker. He's shown a couple of really good sliders, but they don't usually give kids this late in spring a look on the mound unless they're really taking a look at him.
He goes 6'7", 240 pounds. Native Canadian. The 0-2. Chopped in the ground to second base. Barehanded play. And Sucre is out of there for a 1-2-3 inning. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th here in Lakeland. Your Metro Detroit Chevy dealers. Visit ChevyDetroit.com. See why Chevy drives to Motor City. Wall-side windows. We can do that. We are the factory. And by Mary Grove Awnings, home of the best Michigan-made shade. Mike Franco is on the hill now for the Rays as we go to the bottom of the 8th. And it's Nico Goodrum leading it off, showing bunts. Goodrum's first at bat.
Tigers signed to Nico Goodrum into a minor league contract. Came to spring training as a non-roster invitee. And because Ron Gardner hired his staff knew him prior to his days here in Detroit, he was in Minnesota. He makes the Tigers 25-man roster.
Good for him.
He's a guy that's always been highly thought of in Minnesota's organization. He was a second-round draft choice when they initially drafted him out of Georgia. He's got some surprising power too, Mario.
You know, yeah, and I didn't realize how big of a kid he was until we got to camp and saw him up close.
Yeah, he is a big boy. He's well put together. He can play all 7 positions. All the infield positions, all 3 of the outfield positions.
Wave and a miss. Nico is out of there. Franco with a strikeout. 1 away.
Franco first came trotting out of that bullpen. I thought it was Jumbo Diaz. I really did.
Your boy Jumbo.
Jumbo.
Where is Jumbo these days?
Well, he was with them last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Franco favors him a little bit physically.
Yeah.
Mike, a 7th round pick a couple of years ago out of Florida International. He had some good numbers, AA last year. Reyes skies this one to shallow right. And it's going to be caught for round number 2.
Well, if he was drafted just a couple of years ago and in AA getting it done, now he's in big league camp.
Yeah, he was 5-2 with a 3.15 at AA last year. Here's Josh Lester getting an at bat. Strike 1 out Lester. Oh, 2.
Got a pretty good arm. Got some life on that fastball. There are the numbers. 85 innings last year, 76 strikeouts. Ooh, he made it look easy.
We made quick work of Lester in a 1-2-3 inning. On our way to the 9th here at Joker March's Stadium.
Kobe Jones connecting for a solo shot, and then later on in the game against the same pitcher, Evaldi, a hanging slider thrown to James McCann. He hits it out of the ballpark for a solo home run. Those are the only 2 runs the Tigers have scored this afternoon.
Now pitching for the Tigers, number 85, John Schreiber.
Well, Schreiber will take over now. He'll get the 9th inning here for the Tigers.
Schreiber throws from a low 3/4 arm slot. He stands on the extreme third base side of the rubber, and he basically, when he releases the baseball, if you're a right-handed batter, as Johnny Field stands in batter's box, when he releases the baseball, it almost looks like it's coming from behind you. So you really have to concentrate on staying in there with that front shoulder if you're going to have success against a guy like Schreiber.
Saw Schreiber in one of our previous telecasts. He went to high school in Wyandotte. Field fouls it back out of play.
Starting to see more and more right-handers drop down to this low 3/4 arm slot these days. It used to be left-handers that always drop down, but it's some of the righties now that are trying to find that deception to let them have success in the big leagues.
Popped up. First base side foul and out of play.
You know, if you're a right-hander, you throw 92, 93 miles an hour. You don't have exceptional command, and you don't have plus breaking pitches.
It's going to be hard.
It's going to be hard. So you have to find some way, somehow, to allow you to compete. And apparently, this is how Schreiber is able to compete.
Popped up again. This one should stay in play. One gone.
The second baseman, Joey Gallo.
We're looking at Schreiber's numbers last year at West Michigan. I mean, they were eye-popping. In 27 appearances, an ERA of under 1.
Ooh.
0.54. How about that?
How to get you to the next step.
Yeah. Wendell looks at a strike. Been on base twice, single and a hit batter. I've been told that if this game remains tied, there will not be a 10th inning.
Who told you that?
Well, I went over and got it from a very serious source.
You lucky Gibby ain't here. Gibby be crying for 12 or 13
Yeah, he
innings
would.
a day. I get a kick out of you guys.
Gibby would be happy with a 20-inning game
You know
every
what?
night.
Gibby's got that player mentality, manager's mentality. He don't want to leave unless he's winning. He don't care how
Right.
long you play.
Yep.
He just want to win. Ron Gardenhire's got a little bit of that old school in him too. Looking forward to watching him, man, in his first year as a manager after having a couple of years off. He was the bench coach last year in Arizona with Torey Lovella. And he said because he had that time last year on the bench with Torey, he kind of felt like he wanted to manage again. That's one of the reasons why he was able to get this opportunity.
I think the Tigers felt that he would be a good selection to kind of guide this team through its rebuilding process. That's pulled on the ground to the right side. And Wendell is out, 2 gone.
Well, he had seen everything in Minnesota. I mean, he had young teams, he had rebuilding teams, they had low payroll teams. As we get a look at Schreiber's minor league career stats, he's been outstanding since he's been in the minor leagues. But a guy like Ron Gardenhire pretty much has seen everything. He's worked with younger players, older players, and he's the guy that Al Avila trusted.
And you know who our pitching changes are brought to you by? Wallside Windows. Ooh, big swing there by Smith, and he ends up on the ground.
You got to take care of the sponsors.
You do, even in spring training. Malik Smith 0 for 3. The Rays have not scored since the 2-run homer by Brad Miller in the first off Liriano. That is sliced back out of play. Tigers have 8 hits today. The Rays have a total of 5, each team with 2 runs. By the way, you know who gave me that info on no extra innings?
Jim Price.
Oh, he's dialed in, man.
Man, he's the mayor. Who did he get it from, Al? Did he get it from K-Line?
Probably. Schreiber, a 1-2-3 inning. Let's go to the bottom of the ninth. Austin Athman leading it off for the Tigers. Franco still out there for the Rays. There's a wave and a miss. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Franco has thrown nothing but strikes since coming into the game.
Tigers had 12 players come over from the minor league camp this afternoon for the ball game.
And usually when they bring these young kids over, Ron Gardenhire gets them in a game. That last fastball buckled. Is that still Sucre in there? Buckled Sucre.
Athman, one of the minor leaguers coming over. Cam Gibson has come over as well. He's waiting on deck. Two and two the count.
Well, Cam can feel that uniform out, ain't he?
Yeah, he can.
Pants a little tight.
Here's the 2-2. Off the mask. It's the last day of spring training, man. It's just getting pounded.
Yeah, he got beat up on the previous pitch.
Sucre's thinking, come on.
2 pitches ago, he took one right off the shoulder, that one right off the chops.
I want to make sure Sucre's all right. He might not be.
Here's the first one. This one was off the left shoulder. Ooh, almost got him on the neck. That buckled him pretty good. That last one got him in the face mask. Rough day today for Sucre.
So from the bullpen, we'll get a backup catcher coming in. This is probably the last thing on his mind, thinking I'm going to have to come into this ball game here in the 9th inning.
Yeah, he thought he was just going to make a beeline for the clubhouse from the bullpen, go hit the spread.
Go hit the spread.
He had no idea he was going to run this far today.
Jump on the bus and go take the ride to the Trop.
That's right. You know who Franco looks like to me, kind of favors to me? When I was broadcasting games for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Mike Fires. Not Mike Fires,
No, you're talking about, I know who you're talking about. Not Mike Fires. The big guy. Big right-handed pitcher. What's his name?
Now catching for Tampa Bay, number 72.
I can see his physique. I can see his face. We'll get it.
Man, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on his name.
I know.
He was
a big timer.
He's the he's the bullpen coach for the Diamondbacks now.
Anyway, Athman back in there. And he skies this one in the air to shallow left center field. And it's going to be caught for out number 1. It'll bring up Cam Gibson.
The left fielder, Cam Gibson.
And I can see his face. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Fetters.
Mike Fetters.
Mike Fetters.
That's it. Kind of favors him.
A little bit. He sure does. So here is Gibson. Cam's first at bat of the afternoon, coming over from minor league camp.
Cam has been over here a bunch this spring.
A lot.
I mean, he has gotten a lot of really nice long looks from Ron Gardenhire and his staff.
Popped up third base side, drifting, and it's back out of play. Or did he get it? No,
Yep.
He caught it. Well, Gibson's out of there. 2 gone.
Nice job here by Cronenworth. They got new netting over there all the way down the side there. So last spring that would have not been an issue. There would have been no netting there. But he stayed with it nicely.
Cole Peterson now will step in with 2 outs. Tigers offense today consisting of 2 homers, both solo shots.
Good changeup there thrown by Franco at 82.
One by McCann and one by Jacoby Jones. Now the 0-2. Just off the plate, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Well, our next telecast will be for real.
Thursday, Pirates coming to town. Bouncing ball to third. And the Tigers go 1-2-3 in the 9th inning. 2-2 ball game. That's the way this one's going to end. And we'll be back from Joker March's Stadium after this.